Hello and welcome. Welcome into this space. Welcome into this moment, wherever you happen to be in space and time. Welcome to my afternoon. What is it? Tuesday afternoon. I believe we're Tuesday, August 17th on the west coast of Northern California. And this is a piece that I've been teaching on most often within the containers that I already hold, the collective, the Fierce Grace Incubator, and I wanted to bring just a piece of practice, a piece of inquiry, a piece of perspective into this around being, when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel confused. I was on a call and in a group that I'm in right now, and a lot of what kept being referenced was like, with all that's going on in the world. And I thought, like, oh my God, it's almost like a euphemism, all that's going on in the world, rather than really naming like this and this and this and this. And that in and of itself, I believe, is actually one of the ways we stay in sort of overwhelm and confusion, is by like abstracting all that's going on in the world, or with everything going on, or with, rather than like, oh no, this is what's happening. So again, always just really welcome you wherever you're at. And I always welcome engagement. I love questions. I love shares. I love agreement. I love disagreement. Just really welcome the engagement. I believe this is like such an important time to be in conversation, in real dialogue with each other to the best of our ability in whatever way we can. So with that said, and that includes, I guess I really just want to include people who might be watching the replay at some point in time, bringing yourselves into the conversation as well. First, I want to name the way that I hold when people come into my space or in my space, and what they bring is like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling confused. Over time, I really realized the way that I like to define confusion is, I don't know yet, and I think I should. That's overwhelm is similar, right? I don't know yet, and I think I should. So there's kind of three parts to that. There's the I don't know, right? And that's often where people get stuck, like, I don't know. I feel overwhelmed. I feel confused because I don't know. But I believe that's actually because we haven't named the full structure, which is, I don't know yet, and I think I should. So I don't know is like curiosity, is wonder, is awe, right? Is like, I wonder what the answer is. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right thing to do is. I don't know. I don't know in and of itself does not inherently create overwhelm or confusion. It's just, I don't know. And often the reminder that it's, I don't know yet, right? I know this, but I don't know this yet. Rather than, I don't know, like that's the end of the story, like that's forever and ever, like we will never know, right? But if we remember, I don't know yet, already there's like an exhale, there's a relief, like, oh, I just don't know yet. I'm curious about that. Can bring us out of confusion, can bring us out of overwhelm into, I don't know yet. And then the reminder that the overwhelm, the actual confusion, the kind of, you can feel energetically confusion is like swirling. And it's both often the the unconscious assumption that it's I don't know forever rather than I don't know yet. But also there's this added, and again, usually this is somewhat unconscious. It's not something we think, and are consciously judging ourselves for, but it's like an unconscious judgment we put on, which is I don't know and I think I should. And that's what creates the overwhelm, actually. That's what creates the confusion. And if we can just stay with I don't know this, I don't know this, someone asks a question, I don't know yet the answer to that question, or I don't know yet what I want to do this afternoon, or I don't know yet what my decision on that will be. And if we relax or remove or let go of any part of us that goes, and I think I should, maybe I don't know where my child should go to school, and I think I should. Suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed and confused. And if I can just be like, yeah, I don't know yet. And that's all. That's all that it is. We drop the and I think I should part. Can be infinitely relieving, actually. The other piece of that, the amazing thing to me, there's sort of three pieces to this I want to bring in, but more often than not, I almost want to say all the time, but I always hesitate to say like never and always, but pretty much all the time. If I'm working with someone and they're saying like, but I don't know, or like, da 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 da, I don't know, is that often if I go like, well, what do you know? Or are you sure? Or like suddenly, very, very quickly, that person actually does know a lot. And there's something about, it's a habit. Some of it is just habit, right? A reflexive, like, I don't know. And I think there's two pieces to that. One is and I think I should, and inside of that we forget all the things we do know. What I also find is there's sort of two habit, there's just the swirling, I don't know, and it's like a habit that we can get into. I'm in the I don't know space, and sometimes actually what that points to is I know and I'm afraid of what I know, rather than, and one of the ways to work with like actually I do know the answer to that and I'm afraid of what I know, what that often means is I'm afraid of what I will need to do if I acknowledge that I know the answer to that. If I tell the truth to myself that I do know what's next, or I do know what my response to that is, or I do know what choice I want to make, or I do know what I want, I do know where I want to go, I do know what I desire, is that we're afraid of what we might have to do if we acknowledge I do know. So the way that I like to work with that is to remove any obligation to act upon what we know. It doesn't mean that we remove that we can act upon what we know, but we remove any obligation. So, often it's important for us in our lives to remove the obligation to do what other people tell us to do. I also think it's important to remove the obligation to do what we think we should do, which sometimes is like, if I admit what I want, if I admit what my desires are, if I admit what my big dream is, if I do know the answer to the, where I want to move, where my child should go to school, what I want for lunch, what I want in my intimate relationship. If I do admit that it's not, I don't know, it's actually, I do know the response to that, but we remove the obligation that we then must act on it immediately, or we must act on it in these ways, or we must, I think the fear is often that we think we will need to change our lives completely. If I admit that I have this desire in my relationship, if I admit that I know what I want in my life, like suddenly I'm going to have to quit my job, break up with my boyfriend, pack up my house, move, immediately yank my kids out of school. And the reminder that not only do we not have to act on these things immediately, we don't have to act on that. We can take one step, right? It doesn't mean we have to do everything all at once. It can be like, oh, there's actually one step to take, or I can now begin to act on this at my right pace. I can move slowly, I can move quickly, I can begin slowly and then move quickly. I can take one fast action and then I can slow down. Like I can move completely at my right pace. And part of that is literally removing any obligation to act on what we know to be true. We can know it and actually still not act on it. That's what I find works really well with the like swirly, I don't know. And then so often when I actually, hone in with someone, they're like, actually, I do know. Actually, I know exactly what I want. And I'm like, of course you do. The other one that comes up a lot is, well, what do I know? And sometimes we say that out loud, but sometimes it's actually just like a habitual or repetitive question inside our own selves. What do I know? And one of the great ways to work with that is rather than having it be this kind of habitual, abstract, faux question, right? When we actually say, like, what do I know? We're not really asking. We're more like flagellating ourselves with like a faux question that's actually a judgment. We're saying, like, I don't know anything by pretending to ask the question, what do I know? But if we turn that into a genuine question, what do I know? What do I know? Rather than what do I know? It's what do I know? Again, invariably, people are like, well, I know this. Oh, well, I know this. And first of all, not only do we always know something, what I find is we always know actually quite a lot. And we can really pay attention energetically to staying in that realm. It's not only that we do know things and we will actually learn quite a lot. Like, oh, I do know this. I do know this. We may very well answer our own questions. We may very well solve our own problems. We may get exactly the clarity that we were hoping for. This happens a lot. And it's also just like a muscle. Like if we kind of leave ourselves, we go beyond, right? We're in the I don't know yet, but I think I should. And we're spending time out beyond ourselves in the sphere of what we don't know yet, but we think we should, rather than energetically pulling ourselves back into the sphere of, but what do I know? What do I know? What do I know to be true? What do I know I want? What actually do I know? That pulls us, you could say energetically, it pulls us back into our own sphere in an actual physical realm. Like out here, I'm falling forward, or out here, I'm falling back. And then I'm like, oh, here, I'm actually stable, I'm center, I'm grounded, I am in my own seat or my own spot to be standing in. Oh, what do I know? It's right here. It also pulls our energy and our attention back into the present moment from the future, back into the present moment from the past. Usually, I don't know and what do I know is falling into the future, but sometimes it can be falling into the past. But we pull ourselves like in this moment. This is the moment that I know things. This is actually the moment and the spot from which I can take the next step. This is the moment that is here to be responded to. And we become much more able to actually create, act, and respond in our lives when we are here in what do I know? And in this way, it's not what do I know about what I don't know yet, but think I should. It's literally, what do I know? What do I know? And sometimes the first piece, right, will be like, I don't know where I should send my kid to school. I don't know. And I think I should. I don't know yet, and I think I should. And we're way out here, right? And then what do I know might seem unrelated, but it is practicing the muscle of. So what do I know? Oh, I know I'm sitting in this room. I know this feels good. I know I like this. I know I'm hungry. I know I want to eat this. And then we'll be like, oh, I know that I am going to send my child to school. Or I know, something might creep in about the topic that we're inquiring about, but sometimes we have to start with things that seem unrelated, but that we do know. What I do know is that this is the right place for us to live right now. What I do know, or it could just be, right? Sometimes if we acknowledge, right, what I do know is this is not where I want us to be in a year. And then we can go like, well, then I need to know where we are. Nope. We pull it right back. All I need to know right now is that I do know this is not where I want us to be in a year. That's what I know. There is a certain kind of fierceness involved in not allowing ourselves to fall forward into what I don't know yet and often think I should. But continually, like with some rigor, it's not harsh, it's not judgmental, it's not mean, but it's like there's a certain strength to like, no, 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 I'm going to come back to what do I know? What do I know? And my invitation to you is actually to play with that and find out where you probably know a lot. And then to remind you that just because you know doesn't mean you have to act on it, right? So that's that place of where, like, I don't want to admit what I know because then I might have to upend my whole life. Or I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what I will find out if I admit to myself what I do know to be true. But we pull ourselves in. No, no, I can tell the truth to myself. And then I still get to choose how and when and at what pace and in what ways I choose to act or respond or create from the place of what I do know. But the first is simply to acknowledge when we get caught, right? To recognize and acknowledge when we get caught in the space of, I don't know yet, but I think I should, right? And where we're falling into a space of where we don't know yet, we pull it back into, what do I know? What do I know? Mm. I hope that's helpful. I know there are many things that we can fall into the future or fall into the unknown about. And so we have many, many opportunities to pull ourselves back into present time, present moment, our own energetic space, and to find actually that place of like, no, 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 what do I know? What do I know? I'm so glad somebody said that was helpful. Glad to know that. And I hope that it's helpful for many of you. Sending you much love today. Ciao.